a suffering of the worst kind. There might indeed be a remedy for pessimistic philosophies and the excessive sensibility which seems to me the real "distress of the present." But perhaps this remedy already sounds too cruel, and would itself be reckoned among the symptoms owing to which people at present conclude that "existence is something evil." Well, the remedy for "the distress" is distress. 49. Magnanimity and allied qualities. Those paradoxical phenomena, such as the sudden coldness in the demeanour of good-natured men, the humour of the melancholy, and above all, magnanimity, as a sudden renunciation of revenge or of the gratification of envy, appear in men to whom there is a powerful inner impulsiveness, in men of sudden satiety and sudden disgust. Their satisfactions are so rapid and violent that satiety, aversion, and flight into the antithetical taste immediately follow upon them. In this contrast the convulsion of feeling liberates itself, in one person by sudden coldness, in another by laughter, and in a third by tears and self-sacrifice. The magnanimous person appears to me, at least that kind of magnanimous person who has always made most impression, as a man with the strongest thirst for vengeance, to whom a gratification presents itself close at hand, and who already drinks it off in imagination so copiously, thoroughly, and to the last drop, that an excessive, rapid disgust follows this rapid licentiousness. He now elevates himself "above himself," as one says, and forgives his enemy, yea, blesses and honours him. With this violence done to himself, however, with this mockery of his impulse to revenge, even still so powerful, he merely yields to a new impulse, the disgust which has become powerful, and does this just as impatiently and licentiously as a short time previously he forestalled, and as it were exhausted, the joy of revenge with his fantasy. In magnanimity there is the same amount of egotism as in revenge, but a different quality of egotism. 50. The argument of isolation. The reproach of conscience, even in the most conscientious, is weak against the feeling, "this and that are contrary to the good morals of your society." A cold glance or a wry mouth on the part of those among whom and for whom one has been educated is still feared even by the strongest. What is really feared there? Isolation, as the argument which demolishes even the best arguments for a person or cause. It is thus that the gregarious instinct speaks in us. 51. Sense for truth. Commend me to all scepticism where I am permitted to answer, "Let us put it to the test." But I do not wish to hear anything more of things and questions which do not admit of being tested. That is the limit of my "sense for truth," for bravery has there lost its right. 52. What others know of us. That which we know of ourselves and have in our memory is not so decisive for the happiness of our life as is generally believed. One day it flashes upon our mind what others know of us, or think they know, and then we acknowledge that it is the more powerful. We get on with our bad conscience more easily than with our bad reputation. 53. Where goodness begins. Where bad eyesight can no longer see the evil impulse as such, on account of its refinement, there man sets up the kingdom of goodness, And the feeling of having now gone over into the kingdom of goodness brings all those impulses (such as the feelings of security, of comfortableness, of benevolence) into simultaneous activity, which were threatened and confined by the evil impulses. Consequently, the duller the eye, so much the further does goodness extend. Hence the eternal cheerfulness of the populace and of children, hence the gloominess and grief (allied to the bad conscience) of great thinkers. 54. The consciousness of appearance. How wonderfully and novelly, and at the same time how awfully and ironically do I feel myself situated with respect to collective existence with my knowledge! I have discovered for myself that the old humanity and animality, yea, the collective primeval age, and the past of all sentient being, continues to mediate, love, hate, and reason in me. I have suddenly awoke in the midst of this dream, but merely to the consciousness that I just dream, and that I must dream on in order not to perish, just as the sleepwalker must dream on in order not to tumble down. What is it that is now "appearance" to me? Verily, not the antithesis of any kind of essence. What knowledge can I assert of any kind of essence whatsoever, except merely the predicates of its appearance? Verily, not a dead mask which one could put upon an unknown X, and which to be sure one could also remove. Appearance is for me the operating and living thing itself, which goes so far in its self-mockery as to make me feel that here there is appearance, and will-o'-the-wisp, and spirit dance, and nothing more. That among all these dreamers, I also, the "thinker," dance my dance, that the thinker as a means of prolonging further the terrestrial dance, and in so far as one of the masters of ceremony of existence, and that the sublime consistency and connectedness of all branches of knowledge is perhaps, and will perhaps, be the best means of maintaining the universality of the dreaming, the complete mutual understandability of all those dreamers, and thereby the duration of the dream. 55. The ultimate nobility of character. What then makes a person "noble"? Certainly not that he makes sacrifices. Even the frantic libertine makes sacrifices. Certainly not that he generally follows his passions. There are contemptible passions. Certainly not that he does something for others and without selfishness. Perhaps the effect of selfishness is precisely at its greatest in the noblest persons. But that the passion which seizes the noble man is a peculiarity, without his knowing that it is so. The use of a rare and singular measuring rod, almost a frenzy, the feeling of heat in things which feel cold to all other persons, a divining of values for which scales have not yet been invented, a sacrificing on altars which are consecrated to an unknown God, a bravery without the desire for honour, a self-sufficiency which has superabundance, and imparts to men and things. Hitherto, therefore, it has been the rare in man, and the unconsciousness of this rareness that has made men noble. Here, however, let us consider that everything ordinary, immediate, and indispensable, in short, what has been most preservative of the species, and generally the rule in mankind hitherto, has been judged unreasonable and calumniated in its entirety by this standard, in favour of the exceptions. To become the advocate of the rule, that may perhaps be the ultimate form and refinement in which nobility of character will reveal itself on earth.